This is what will happen to the spirits of those that died in the accident that happened in Bela-Bela. How are you, Brother Nashim? You can post my story. We've been talking for a very long time, and some of the messages that I have sent to you, you've not yet shared them on your channel. If it is possible, I want you to read this so that people can understand about spiritual warfare. I told you a lot about witchcraft. You read some of those messages, but I am back again. This is spiritual warfare that happens after you've killed someone with your car. People, they laugh when African elders or us Sangoma speak about blood that is spilled will cry forever from the ground unless something is done about it. They say that it is just superstition. They say that accidents, they happen each and every day. But I want South Africans, Zimbabweans, and every driver on African roads, either in Europe or in America, wherever you are, to understand the concept of death. You need to understand something serious today so that you can know more about the spiritual realm. Death is not just physical. If you cause death either by accident or not by accident, death is regarded the same in the spiritual realm because there is only one life giver who is only allowed to take back what belongs to him. Blood, it has a voice in the spiritual world. That is why you hear those that come to you to confess always talking about blood. People always wonder, why is it that people only sacrifice chickens when they start with their journey? It is because it is hard for a person to come to your shrine and then you tell him straightforward, kill someone. You make them to understand the processes, how to obtain money by starting with something that is small. A lot of you have killed a chicken in their life and you have eaten a chicken that you have slaughtered. So you are no longer sensitive to the life that you would be ending of that chicken. And then you graduate into a goat, a cow. By the time that you slaughter your own cow for a sacrifice, it is easier for you to sacrifice a human being. Blood speaks to God because in the blood, that is where the life is. I am a Zimbabwean traditional healer. Some of you do not know me, but some of the confessions that Brother Nashi has read in Shona or in English, they come from me. Some are stories of the people that have came to my shrine. Some are the stories of witches, those that have came also to my shrine. I record them and then I also give Brother Nashi a voice note so that he can listen to those people that will be confessing to me that they are witches and they don't want to be witches anymore. I have worked with families from Harare, even Bulawayo, Musina, Johannesburg, Polokwane, Gwerus, and even families living overseas, mainly Zimbabweans, those that are in the UK and Australia. There was a particular case of a Zimbabwean family in Australia. Both of them, they are doctors. They have a generational curse in their family because the husband's father, he murdered someone. He used to be an intelligence officer and he murdered someone and made that person to disappear. And he took his family to Australia where they grew up, went to universities, became top doctors in Australia. But their daughter started to suffer. She would fall down and she will act as if she is someone that has epilepsy. In your family, if there is epilepsy that just came out of nowhere, it is wise to pray and to also consult because usually it is your spirit or the spirit of that person fighting with a secondary spirit that is trying to possess the body. Hence, there is that reaction where you see the person having fits. They made me to visit them in Australia and I sat with them down and I told them that the only humble thing that they could do first was to speak with the family of the woman that was murdered by their father when she was pregnant, because he was afraid that she was going to expose him, because they used to work together and she was still in university on her attachments when she fell pregnant. They had to fly from Australia and came back. Even their daughter, when they landed in Zim, started to manifest, showing them the way until they arrived in the village where the mother was staying. She was already old and blind at that time. When she saw a mother, she started to cry, saying, "Mother, mother," calling out the name of her mother. But this is a girl that had grown up in Australia, did not even speak proper Shona. So it might be something that seems as if it is fiction, but even in the Bible, there are cases like that. One of the darkest spiritual battles I have seen is what happens after someone kills a person with a car, even accidentally. You have taken the life that you were not supposed to take. People think that if the police clear you, then everything is over. No, the courts of men can close a case, but the spiritual court does not close easily, especially when blood has been spilled violently. As I'm speaking with you right now, in that place where the accident happened, I bet you if there were cameras, one might see 2 or 3 people going to collect the blood of those that were hit and died in the N1. Because if someone dies violently, that blood can be used to make money quickly, because that person is full of anger. He or she was still supposed to live their life until when they are called by God. If their life is ended violently, it is easy to use their spirit when they are in a state of confusion. I bet you that in that place there might be 1 or 2 sangomas that have already collected their blood. Those topologies that are created from the blood where there is an accident that has happened, they become topologies that are used for protection as well as to attack your enemies. Some of them, they are not necessarily created so that they can generate wealth in your life, but for protection. If you have enemies, they will always protect you. So this week when I heard about that accident near Bela-Bela, where a mother, a husband, and their baby died on the N1 in terrible accidents, I understood what had happened in the spiritual realm. 3 lives gone in 1 month. It is a bloodline that has been destroyed. It is a family that has been destroyed. Maybe in South Africa, they don't understand the term ngozi. To those that do not know the meaning of ngozi, it means an avenging spirit. The life of a baby violently taken. That spirit of a baby, if you kill a baby that does not know how to speak, it becomes difficult to negotiate with such a spirit when it returns back. How can you negotiate with a child? The demands of that child, they will haunt you for the rest of your life. A child will demand things that cannot even be done. There was one family that once came to my shrine with the same thing. They had a taxi, and their taxi had hit a child in the location in Glenora, whilst the kids were playing in the street. So they started to witness a lot of strange happenings in their homes. Then they came to us and we started to assist them. It took us almost forever for the spirit of that child to communicate. It had possessed one of the daughters in that family. She was already married, but she was acting as if she was 5 years, and it even destroyed her marriage. When they came, then the spirit said that it wanted a wife, and they had to agree. It is something that people do not understand, because that boy was saying, I was supposed to have my own wife, I was supposed to have my own kids. Therefore, this family is supposed to give me a child. Do you know that When you kill someone, when that person returns to your family as a curse, that spirit can claim a child that is not even born. If you are a man that is born into that family where there is a generational curse, when you marry, the avenging spirit can choose the child that your wife will be carrying in her womb. When she gives birth, you will think that it is your child, but it is a child that belongs to a spiritual husband. That child can end up having mental health issues, can run mad, can be a child that lacks understanding, does not have any respect, can stress you until you go and consult. Then you are told that in your family there is ABC that is happening. Many people in our society right now, they don't understand what used to happen in Africa back in those days. If it happens that you have killed someone, the laws of the spirit, they are much more powerful than the laws in the natural realm. To those that are Christian, that will say, this one is just a sangoma trying to market his work. Even your Bible says that the blood of Abel cried to God from the ground after Cain had killed him. That means blood, your blood speaks. Blood can open doors spiritually. Blood can invite curses, demons, misfortunes, madness, violence, poverty, barrenness, divorce, and death into generation if cleansing and reconciliation are not done properly. It can happen for many generations until God says, in this generation, let them free. But when you kill someone, the blood of that person has a time frame where they are allowed to stand before God and cry and cry. Even if it happens that you are no longer alive, your grandchildren, your granddaughters, they will always be facing spiritual difficulties, spiritual warfare that no pastor can pray away those problems. I'm not speaking to condemn anyone. Accidents happen, and it happens when you are not even thinking about an accident. Drivers are innocent. People can walk carelessly on a highway. An accident sometimes cannot be avoided, but spiritually, taking a life carries consequences, whether you did it intentional or accidental. Do you know that if you see a dead person and you do not speak, you have also brought a curse upon your life? In our culture here in Zimbabwe, I do not know if it is the same culture there in South Africa. In our culture, but I bet that it is in all Nguni cultures. When someone is killed, either by your vehicle, the matter is not finished by insurance papers and funeral speeches. Families sit down, elders they talk, spirits are addressed. There is supposed to be what we call acknowledgement of the blood that was spilled. The driver or family usually assists with burial processes. There is a cow that is supposed to be slaughtered, representing the blood of that person that has been spilled. Sometimes cows are even given to the deceased family as part of appeasing the Ngozi spirit that I spoke about earlier on, the avenging spirit. Western people, they might laugh at this, but many families collapsing today are carrying unresolved blood covenants from long ago. When you kill someone, you enter into a cursed blood covenant. I have personally seen families where one grandfather killed someone in a road accident in the 1970s. Nothing was spiritually addressed. Today, in that same family, the men are uncontrollably violent with the urge to kill. Sons become alcoholics. Women fail to marry. Daughters experience spiritual husbands in dreams, not topologies. Children die mysteriously. Miscarriages. Family members constantly kill or are killed. Do you know that there are families where there is always someone that is killed the same way, either hit by a car, stabbed to death, shot? It is because of blood covenants. Here in our country, we have a case of Enmo Ritra. The way that he killed people, it is said that there is a Ngozi spirit in their family because it is not the first time that it has happened. Businesses collapse suddenly. You try a business, nothing works because you have been condemned already in the courts of heaven. Mental illness become common. Divorce repeats generation after generation. People might think that it is coincidence, but spiritually, when something happens in the spiritual realm, it does not happen by coincidence. It is a message that is being sent to you. When blood cries to God without reconciliation, demons finds legal entry. And listen carefully to this part because many people, they misunderstand the Ngozi spirit. Ngozi is not just a ghost chasing people with chains like you see in Nigerian movies. No, Ngozi is a spiritual imbalance created when life is taken unjustly or when the dead are ignored. It creates restlessness in the spiritual realm. The spirit of the deceased demands acknowledgement that you killed me. That is why in Zim, elders will always say, Musadaro, Musaurayana, ekuti ngozi, inonetsa kuiripa, meaning do not fight, do not argue with someone until you kill that person because it is hard to negotiate with a person that is dead, even if it was that person that had wronged you in the first place. Do not ignore an avenging spirit. Even if someone died accidentally under your car, elders will still insist on dialogue with the family. Why? Because spiritually, the bloodline of the deceased and the bloodline of the killer became connected through death. And if nothing is done, darkness can use that doorway. Some drivers think, I did not mean to kill them. Spiritually, intention matters, yes, but bloodshed itself still leave you in a covenant. That is why after accidents, many drivers suddenly experience nightmares. Some begin dreaming the deceased person speaking to them. Some hear crying babies at night. Some become afraid of driving forever. Others suddenly lose money, jobs, marriages, or peace. People dismiss it as trauma, but sometimes it is deeper than that. There are famous people, musicians, politicians, businessmen, even pastors, whose lives collapsed after fatal accidents involving pedestrians. Some later faced divorce, even in our country, after their cars had hit other people. Some got addicted, bankruptcy, depression, and repeated death in their homes. Not every tragedy is spiritual warfare, but some are absolutely spiritual warfare. I once worked with a family from Zim living in Gauteng. Their father hit a man while driving at night near Musina years ago. The courts cleared him because the pedestrian was drunk and crossing dangerously, so the man celebrated and moved on with his life. But spiritually, things had already started. Within 5 years, his oldest son stabbed someone during a fight at school. His daughter became violent. His wife started to dream strange men sleeping beside him every day. Their family business collapsed. 2 grandchildren developed unexplained mental problems. Every male child in that bloodline became aggressive. When they finally came for spiritual consultation, the elders discovered the deceased man's family have never been approached traditionally. No burial assistance, no apology, no cleansing, no acknowledgement. The blood remained crying. Some South Africans do not understand why Zimbabweans take these things seriously, that Africans understood a very long time ago that death connects families spiritually. Even the Bible teaches that innocent blood defiles the land. Look around Africa today, so much bloodshed, so many murders, so many accidents, and people wonder why violence keep on increasing. Spirits of violence multiply violence. That is why I am pleading again regarding this Bela-Bela tragedy. the family of those three deceased people must be contacted properly. Their spirits must be carried back to Zim respectfully. Then elders must speak and a cleansing is supposed to happen, because when someone is hit by a car and their death is ignored, that road at that particular spot where the accident happened, it will always happen again. Have you ever noticed that some roads in that same spot, there is always a fatal accident happen? Some people, they'll think that it is overspeeding, fatigue, yet it is something spiritual that is happening. Spiritually, some places, they become demonic loaded with energy, death energy, after repeated accidents. In our tradition, people would sometimes perform cleansing ceremonies on roads where many people died, not because they worship death, but understanding unresolved spirits attract more death and tragedy in that spot. I know educated people will mock this message, but I have also helped and I have seen where people died by their numbers in a family where it was said to be a family that had generational curses, because generational curses, they are for real. If your grandfather spills blood, the curse enters. Your sons become abusive to their wives for no reasons. Your women cannot keep marriages. Poverty follows every generation. Children rebel violently. Premature death increase. Suicides and killings multiply. Sexual immorality becomes uncontrollable. Strange spiritual attacks begin, and the family will never ever understand the root, always visiting different pastors and sangomas, their money being taken away. Sometimes the curse enters because the blood covenant was never addressed. Blood is serious spiritually. That is why occult groups use blood rituals. They understand spiritual law more than any church member can ever understand, that blood can create agreements in the spiritual realm. Even in Christianity, we say that the blood of Jesus Christ represents covenant and redemption. Blood is never spiritually ordinary. So when a human life ends under your vehicle, something spiritual has happened, whether you want it or not. In Zim year after fatal accidents, we always encourage the following: visiting the deceased family respectfully, assisting burial processes, and acknowledging traditional cleansing ceremony, and try to reconciliate families, compensation, giving cattle in some cases, prayer to those that pray, spiritual cleansing of the vehicle, guidance of the driver spiritually. Why cattle sometimes? Because in our tradition, cattle represent restoration of relationship and seriousness of apology. It's not buying a human life. No human life can be bought. It is just reconciling. Just like when you pay your lobola, you are not buying your wife like what the Western world want you to believe as an African person, that you are buying your wife. Sadly, modern people, they do not understand that. There was a case in Blawayo where a haulage truck killed a young boy. The driver fled the scene because he feared arrest. That mistake opened terrible doors. Within months, that driver, he started to run mad. He was speaking of seeing a young boy. And I also want to ask the family of those that died in that accident to go to South Africa and to collect the spirits of their relatives that died, so that there won't be any more people that will be killed in that same place. Because if the spirits of those three people are not taken back to Zim, something is going to happen again. There are people that are going to be hit in that same spot. Or you would find out that in that same spot in Bela-Bela, it is not the first time people being hit in an accident, those that will be walking, passing the N1. It has been happening, you would find out, for a very long time, and there is no cleansing that is taking place. If it happens that you are involved in an accident and someone dies, try to contact the family. This will help your future generations, because they will suffer when you are no longer there. You are the one that can be able to contact the family whilst you are still alive. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our brother who is always sending some messages. If someone comes to his shrine, he can record the confession of that person, and then he sends to me. Then I narrate it so that all of us we can hear those confessions of people that are crying about doing money rituals and they do not want them anymore. Let us talk about this in the comment section. To those that are staying in Bela-Bela, has it happened before that there are people that have been hit by cars and died in that same spot or not? In your culture, what do you do when someone kills a person in your family? What do you do? Do you ignore and move on with your life, or you go and speak with the family of the deceased? You can tell us in the comment section. Let us meet again in the following episode.